understand that one of your research projects involve informal music learning practice.
It started probably when I was a teenager, actually, when I started wondering how popular musicians learn their instrumental skills, because I myself was having classical piano lessons, and you know, it was a mystery to me how popular musicians sort of did it, really. So that's driven my work for many, many years, and it ended up about 10 or 15 years ago doing a study of how popular musicians learn. And from that study I took the main characteristics of their learning practices and adopted them and adapted them for the school classroom. It was based on 5 things. One, that they learn by choosing their own music, therefore they're using music that they know and love and identify with. Secondly, they learn by playing by ear. As you know, everyone knows, they put on their own favourite music and just attempt to play along with it. Thirdly, they work both by themselves and with friends, and it's very important that they work with friends who share similar musical tastes. Fourthly, because of all this way of learning, their learning tends to be idiosyncratic, it's very personal, it's haphazard, it's not structured in the kind of progressive way that we normally try to structure music learning in formal environments. And also it often takes place without any teacher or adult or anybody who is able to you know, give them expert help. And fifthly, they tend to integrate all the skills of listening, composing, performing and improvising all the way through the learning process. And I simply adapted those for the school classroom. So this wonderful project, Musical Futures, approached me and asked me to join them, and I then had the opportunity of doing that. And Musical Futures is now a major UK national project. It's also a project which is going on in Australia. We hope, as you know, that it's going to happen in Brazil. There are also parts of the USA and Canada where it's beginning to be used. And the Musical Futures project was funded mainly by the Paul Hamlyn Foundation. This way of bringing in popular musicians' learning practices into the classroom has, of course, affected the role of the teacher as well. The role of the teacher is to stand back at the beginning of the process, observe what the pupils are doing, try to sympathise and empathise with the goals that the pupils are setting for themselves, and only at that point start to step in and offer guidance, and also to act as a musical model by playing the instruments themselves or whatever. Now this is a little bit different from the role of the teacher, of course, in a more standard pedagogic form, where the teacher is the one who knows. The teacher chooses, in the case of music, the teacher chooses the music. The teacher will tell the pupils which notes to play sometimes, how to play them, what order to play them in, and it comes from the teacher to the student. In this way, the student is given much more autonomy to make their own choices and to direct their own learning with their friends and to find their own route through the learning process. Now, as you can imagine, at the beginning of Musical Futures, quite a few of the teachers in the very, very early stages were quite worried about what was going to happen if we give students in school classrooms all this freedom. And of course, the first time that I tried this in my very, very first London classroom, I thought the same thing. I had no idea if the technique would work or not. But luckily, it really has worked incredibly well. And what tends to happen is that after 2 or 3 lessons, the teachers begin to get pretty nervous because they're not sure where it's going to go. But after 3 to 4 lessons, most of the teachers are amazed at how highly motivated the kids have been, how well organised they've been, how they've got themselves into their friendship groups, how they've sorted themselves out, and how they've actually shown that they have musical abilities that very often the teachers didn't know they had. And a lot of our teachers have said it made them realise that previously they were not giving children enough credit for having as much ability as they actually do have.